It was a quiet Wednesday afternoon when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I opened the door cautiously. On my doorstep sat a package, small, unmarked, with no return address. The handwriting on the label was strange. Sloppy, almost like a child had written it. I couldn't help but feel a pang of curiosity. I carried it inside, my mind racing with possibilities. Maybe it was a mix-up, a wrong delivery, or one of my friends playing a joke. But something about it felt off, like the universe had just handed me a puzzle waiting to be solved. I grabbed a box cutter and sliced through the tape carefully. Inside, wrapped in layers of old, crinkled newspaper, was a single item, an old, rusty key. Just a key. Attached to it was a small slip of paper with the words scrawled in black ink, "You'll need this soon." That's when the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. What did they mean by that? Was this some sort of cryptic message? I examined the key, trying to decipher any clues. There were no markings on it, nothing that hinted at its origin. It looked ancient, the kind of thing you'd find in an antique store or a Gothic novel. For the next few hours, I couldn't focus on anything else. I tried getting back to my work as a freelance graphic designer, but my thoughts kept circling back to that key. What door did it open? Why had it been sent to me? Later that evening, as I sat on the couch flipping through channels, there was a sudden knock at the door. I froze. It was almost 10 p.m., way too late for visitors. I peered through the peephole and saw a woman standing there. She was wearing a long, dark coat, her face partially obscured by the hood. I hesitated before opening the door just a crack. "Are you Jake?" she asked in a voice that was calm, almost too calm. "Yeah, who's asking?" Without answering my question, she pulled something out of her coat pocket, a photograph. She handed it to me without a word. I stared down at the picture, my heart pounding in my chest. It was an old photograph of a house, my childhood home. The one my family had moved out of when I was 10. I hadn't been there in over 2 decades. "I think you know what to do with the key," she said softly, before turning and walking away, disappearing into the darkness. I stood there, dumbfounded, clutching the photo in one hand and the rusty key in the other. A million questions raced through my mind. How did she know about my old house? Why had she given me this picture? And more importantly, why did she think I had the key to that house? Sleep wasn't an option that night. I couldn't stop thinking about the house, the key, the cryptic message. The next morning, after tossing and turning for hours, I made a decision. I had to go back to my childhood home. The drive to the house was strange, filled with nostalgia and unease. The closer I got, the more surreal it felt. I hadn't thought about the place in years, yet now I was being drawn back to it like a magnet. When I finally arrived, the house looked almost exactly as I remembered it, old, slightly run down, but still standing. There was something eerie about seeing it again after all these years. I stepped out of the car, gripping the key in my pocket. The front door loomed in front of me, like a gateway to another time. With shaky hands, I inserted the key into the lock. To my surprise, it turned smoothly, as if the door had been waiting for it. The door creaked open, revealing a dusty interior that looked frozen in time. Furniture was still in place, cobwebs draped over the corners, and the air smelled of mildew and forgotten memories. I wandered through the house, my footsteps echoing on the wooden floors. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary at first, just a forgotten home. But as I made my way upstairs, I heard it, a soft, rhythmic tapping coming from one of the rooms. Heart pounding, I followed the sound to what used to be my old bedroom. The door was ajar, and the tapping grew louder as I approached. I pushed the door open slowly, my breath catching in my throat. In the center of the room was a wooden chest, one I'd never seen before. It was small, unassuming, and looked incredibly old. The tapping had stopped, but I could feel something pulling me towards it. With trembling hands, I lifted the lid. Inside was a stack of letters, each one sealed with wax and addressed to me. But these weren't from anyone I knew. They were written by someone named Lydia. The name sent a chill down my spine, though I had no memory of anyone with that name. I opened the first letter. It was short, cryptic, and sent me reeling. "Jake, you must remember. The truth is hidden where the shadows meet. Trust no one but yourself. And whatever you do, don't go to the basement." Suddenly, everything felt wrong, like I was being watched. The room seemed to grow colder, the air heavier. I grabbed the letters, stuffing them into my bag, and bolted out of the house. Back in my car, my mind raced. Who was Lydia? What truth was she talking about? And why did I feel such a strong urge to go to the basement, despite her warning? But before I could make sense of anything, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "You found the letters, didn't you?" I froze, staring at the screen. How did they know? Then another message came through: "The basement isn't what you think. You're running out of time." I started the car, adrenaline surging through me. The key, the photo, the letters, it was all connected, and somehow, I was right in the middle of it. But the real question was, would I dare go back to the basement?